But now, chat, we must get to the next review. Spider-Man the Animated Series, Episode 10, chat. In the double digits of the animated shows at this point. The Alien Costume Part 3. And chat, things are not looking good for old Webhead. As we knew from the events of Episode 9, Peter Parker, he has gotten the alien symbiote costume off of his thick, luscious body, chat, via the power of Jesus Christ himself, chat. He prayed the symbiote away using a bell. Using a big old bell, and the sonic vibrations fucked him up, and the symbiote, it leaked somewhere else. And Peter's like, I'm in my boxer briefs, I gotta get home. But chat, he forgot that he had webbed up, who, chat? Eddie Brock. Eddie James Brock. I don't know if his middle name is James, so I'm gonna call him Eddie James Brock. And it goes all up on him, chat, and the Eddie Brock's hate for Spider-Man and the symbiote, or as the thing is fucking called, like, people call it a symbiote, Peter calls it a symbiote. Like, everyone calls it something different in this show. It's the symbiote. It's the symbiote. That's what it is, chat. It gets on Eddie Brock, and its hate just all, it creates, chat, who? Fucking Venom. He's like, I'm gonna go after Spider-Man, chat. And we cut to Eddie Brock's apartment, and we just see the resentment as he is pumping the fucking iron, chat. We see these big old, thick, steroid-infused muscles. and the opacity of that is like degraded to like 40%, and we see fucking stock footage of Spider-Man and Eddie Brock. And this is interesting, chat. Like, so far through this series, Eddie Brock's had a bit of a rough stint. You know, he had all these big stories that kind of fell flat in his face. He was originally covering the stuff with the Lizard. He was covering the stuff with the Spider Slayers. Who else? What else he was covering? The fucking stuff with oh god, some other characters as well, like a plethora of characters, chat. And it's never been good for good old Eddie Brock. He's been fired multiple times, twice by J. Jonah Jameson. Both because, I mean, he was just a bad reporter, and the second time because he fucking was leaking misinformation, lied about a story about Spider-Man. And Spider-Man didn't steal stuff from that space shuttle, it was the Rhino. And of course, he got fired from the Daily Globe because the Daily Globe's office was destroyed by the Spider Slayers. So Brock, all that resentment, it's just being personified right here, chat, with that fucking B-roll and with those muscles. And chat, we have learned that the symbiote has gifted him all of the knowledge of Peter Parker, chat. All of his secret identity, his life. Eddie knows everything. And he's like, I'm just not going to kill him. I'm going to systematically torture and just break down his entire life, his very existence, torture him. That's what I want to do. And we're going to start and make this very easy. Target everyone he loves. Well, what's the fucking line, chat, from Spider-Man the movies? What was it? The heart, Osborn! Target the heart, and then his body. That's what he's doing, chat. He's following good old William Dafoe logic here. And then, chat, we see just Spider-Man, cut to a next scene, Spider-Man, he's just swinging through the city, got a big old moon up in the sky. He's like, what a great night. I'm gonna be back in my classic blue and red threads. I'm just having a good time swinging in the big old apple, chat. But then who does he see on the fucking skyscraper? It's the Rhino. Rhino's just staring at him. He's like, that's weird. And he swings down there. Rhino's like, I've come for revenge, Spider-Man. And goddamn Spider-Man and Rhino, they just start wrestling, chat. Spider-Man defeats him very easily. Because Rhino Rhino has one move, chat. He just fucking rams his horn into things. He rams into Spider-Man multiple times. Like the first time he fucks up, second time he really fucks up, and Spider-Man just like twists like some goddamn like rebarb around him, and he can't get out. He's like, that was easy. You're defeated, Rhino. But then who's come up behind Spider-Man, chat? It's the Shocker. Shocker! Shocker's there, chat, and he starts blasting the Spider. And Spider-Man's like, oof! And Spider-Man's having a little bit of a difficult time with Shocker, because he's like, okay, you're a new enemy, I'm still getting used to you. I was fighting you under the somewhat control of the symbiote, or as Peter calls it, the symbiote. So, it's a little more difficult. But then, Chad, who fucking enters the goddamn fray? Venom! Venom, he just, hey guys, I'm Venom, I'm here, I'm gonna fuck everything up. Spider-Man gets knocked out of the way, Chad, by Shocker. And then Venom just proceeds to fuck up Shocker, Chad. I mean, it literally terrifies him. And so by the time that, like, Spider-Man's crawling up back to this building, it's like, oh, what the hell happened? I hear Shocker just screaming his ass off. It's like, did fucking Venom, like, start eating Shocker? Like, what's happening? Whoa! What a twist, chat. And he just gets up there, he just sees Venom and Shocker, they've just been webbed up, and they're fine. They're just knocked out. He's like, oh, they've just been concussed severely. Whatever. It's okay. That's the other thing. Spider-Man's like, this is just so weird. And then, he knows, like, they're all web. I didn't do that webbing. Who did it? And then who's behind him, Chad? He's like, oh, how you doing, Spider-Man? I think you need some help. It's Eddie Brock. And Spider-Man's like, Eddie Brock, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, well, listen, I'm just here to help out a friend. Parker. Spider-Man's like, what? He knows who I am, Peter Parker. I know everything about you because I have this. And Chad, he transforms back into Venom. And Spider-Man's like, what the fuck? And then they just start fighting, chat. And Spider-Man has a distinct disadvantage. Like, Venom has all the abilities that Spider-Man has. He's got the web shooting, all that. He's stronger than Spider-Man, can crawl on the walls. But this is the other thing that throws Peter Parker off. He's like, oh my god, my spider sense is going to work on him. So when Venom, because Venom, he's a master of stealth in this episode. So I don't know why more villains didn't do this shit, chat. But Venom, he constantly disappears and then reappears and just fucking punches the shit out of Spider-Man. So I was like, fuck. And that's what Venom's doing here. He's like, whoa, okay, I gotta get out of here. So Spider-Man, he eventually escapes. He's like, I have to leave. I can't handle this kind of shit. Eventually, he's like, okay, I have to figure out how to get a hold of Brock. Like, where the hell is he living right now? Because maybe I should go to his old apartment. So he goes to his old apartment, chat, and he finds this stuff. He's like, oh, Brock fucking, he loves to pump the iron, loves to pump the steroids into that thick, luscious, sweaty body of his. He gets the magazine, chat. He goes to the Daily Bugle offices. And he starts making some calls, and he's like, I know that Brock, for whatever reason, was Peter watching him, loved to just work out alone. And so he calls this magazine, this company, and he's like, hey, pretending to be Eddie Brock, chat, that's illegal. It's illegal, Spider-Man. And he's calling, he's like, hey, I had this stuff shipped to my apartment. I just want to make sure it was sent to the right address. Can you give me that address, please? They give him the address. He's like, all right, thank you, bye. And he hangs up, chat. Fucking Robbie comes in and he's like, hey, Peter, I know you need all these files on Eddie Brock. Why do you need them? He's like, oh, no reason. It's like, you have to have a very good reason to read the personal files of an employee that was fired under real unique circumstances, chat. And Peter's just a fucking photographer. He's not a reporter, okay? He's not a photojournalist. He's a photographer on like, not even salaried either. He's contract, so he definitely wouldn't have access to those, okay? I work for organizations where they would not tolerate that shit, chat. That would put the organization itself in the hot water. That would put Robbie Robertson in the hot water. There would be actions taken against him. Lawsuits, chat, and Peter would definitely be fired, but to each their own. J. Jonah Jameson doesn't care. He just wants those pictures of Spider-Man. And then speaking of JJ, who walks into the front door, chat? Well, I mean, JJ walks, his son doesn't, because he's in a wheelchair, chat. It's fucking J. Jonah Jameson and his son, John Jameson. And JJ's like, hey, look who's here, everybody. And John Jameson, he's recovered, or almost recovered from his traumatic event on the space shuttle when it crashed into New York City, chat. The symbiote was all over him, up inside of him. It was not good experience. Lost use of his legs temporarily, I believe. And he's like, JJ's there to announce, like, my son, hey guys, we just brought my son over. I want to announce that the first mission, or the first, I guess, probe that they're setting up there via New York is going to be named after my boy, the John Jameson probe. And it's like, whoa, that's awesome. Everyone's like, yay. Peter's like, I got to fucking find Venom. And so then, chat, he gets all these files. Like, okay, but before I do that, I gotta go ahead and take MJ on her date. That's what I gotta do next. And so he goes ahead, he goes home, he changes, chat, after his battles, after his investigations of Venom. And he's like, I know I gotta meet her at the movie. He's like, whew, I gotta head over there, chat. He meets her just at the last minute. Not really, he's late, of course. Peter Parker luck. So he's just like, hey, MJ, how you doing? Sorry, I was just doing some research, trying to get for this big project. He's like, oh, don't worry about it, Peter. I'm glad you're here. By the way, I just been talking with your friend. And it's, who is it, chat? It's Eddie Brock. He's like, hey, Peter. And he's like, no! MJ, we gotta go. And they just start walking. They start walking, chat. She's like, Peter, what's wrong? We're gonna miss the show. He's like, and he's like, you're gonna miss curtain call. And Peter's like, we gotta go. No, don't. This is very rude, Chuck. He's like, listen, woman, don't start asking questions. You trust me, right? She's like, first of all, don't call me woman, Peter. All right, that's not very appropriate. And he's like, but then she does the wrong answer, chat. Of course I trust you, Tiger. And so he takes her down to the subway, chat. Eddie Brock just following him, too. He's just like, he's fucking Mr. X. He just knows where he is, knows where he's going to be. And they get on the goddamn subway, chat. And he's like, MJ, do you trust me? She's like, I do. I'm going to take you home. She's like, all right. I guess we're going to go home. And so he takes her home, chat. He pops into goddamn Aunt May's place. That's where he lives. He's like, whew, Aunt May's like, oh, Peter, well, the date was short. What happened? He's like, oh, don't worry, MJ wasn't feeling too well. And she's like, oh, I see. But then the fucking doorbell rings. Chet's like, who is that? Who is ringing the doorbell so late into the night? And Peter opens it, and it's fucking Eddie Brock. Chet, he's like, hey, Peter. He's like, God damn it, man, leave me alone. And Aunt May, she's like, oh, who is this? And she's like, oh, hello, man. She fucking pushes Peter out of the way. Hello, ma'am. I am Eddie Brock Jr., Chet. Eddie Brock Jr. Peter, he's an old friend of mine. I love this man. I love it. I love this man. He's told me so much about you. It's great to meet you, Mrs. Parker. He's like, oh, you're so nice. And Peter's like, all right, I got to talk to Eddie outside. And Aunt May, she waddles back to the kitchen where she's fucking making the wheat. She's always making wheat cakes. That's why she's so heavily in debt. She won't stop making the wheat cakes. Stop it, Aunt May. That's not a sound business plan. She's like, hey, he's so polite. And we go outside, chat. And Peter's like, fucking stop this. Lady's like, fuck no, I'm gonna torture you. That's what I'm gonna do, man. And they start wrestling, chat. They start wrestling. And Peter, he just fucking swings up. Venom's like, I will get you, Spider-Man. And Peter just begins seeing Venom everywhere. He sees him in billboards. He sees him in magazines. He sees him in the moon. He's everywhere. He's like, what do I need to do? He's like, I know what I need to do. I gotta play his game. I have to psychologically torture and manipulate him, which should be easy, because fucking Brock was already half a psychopath to begin with, and the symbiote, even worse. And so, we cut chat. Eddie Brock, he's returned to his apartment. He goes in there, and he had like this wall, this memorabilia. Oh! Who is this? Who is it? Roxy Chan, the Vespikin. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Welcome to stream. You're my new Huckleberry. Hope you're doing well tonight. Good to see you. Toadette, welcome. Yo to you too. Oh, Darkslayer, thank you for the 5 biddies. Appreciate them, man. Eddie and Venom straight up troll. They troll their troll. Master level troll skills on display right here, chat. It's pretty fucking funny. Brock, you're fired. He says he hears that at least 3 or 4 times in the series. Up to episode 10, chat. It's nuts. But then, so Eddie, he gets in his apartment, chat, and he had this wall of paper clippings of Spider-Man, because he's just like, hate, and like all, like an entire wall, like a fucking serial killer, chat, but they've all been replaced now. They've been replaced with front page exposés. Eddie Brock fired, stupid reporter is eliminated from view, like all the all about Eddie Brock and how shit of a person and journalist he was. He goes, Spider-Man, and Peter Parker, fucking Spider-Man goes, yes. He's right by the window, and it's like, you, he's like, me, and then they just start going at it, chat. And this is a protracted battle and chase scene. They're wrestling, they're webbing each other, they're web swing. Then we get one of the best moments. Eventually, and you could tell that all the money for this series went to these 3 episodes here. It's obvious, because they do so many different things. And I'll give them this. Like, for a series that came out in 94, did not nearly have as high a budget as something like Batman animated series, they do a lot of fun stuff in this episode. I'm not even a Venom fan, you guys know. But we get in one sequence when they get onto a subway, chat, and they're battling, and Venom, he goes underneath the fucking subway, and he surprises Peter at one point. But then Peter eventually, he knocks him off, and Venom's like, he can't get to Spider-Man. He's like, fuck, what am I gonna do? And so there's a trucking company nearby, and Eddie Brock knows how to drive a truck, apparently, back in the day, and he fucking is just, in this goddamn big wheeler, chat, and he's chasing it, like, he turns back into Venom, and he's honking on the horn, beep, beep, Spider-Man, he's bad. It's like, what? Nick Luzzy, thank you. Whoa, man, thank you for the 1,000 biddy donation. Can't stay long, just pop. Hey, man, you're at the perfect point, because we're in fucking Venom in the big old truck, and he says, beep, beep, Spider-Man, he's yelling at him. Spider-Man's like, that is goofy as fuck. But we'll roll with it. It'll be a meme someday. It's going to be meme quality. 26 years later. No, but again, Nick Luzzy, seriously, thank you for the support, man. I really, really do appreciate that. It was very kind of you. But now, yeah, so he fucking crashes the truck. He gets back onto the goddamn subway, and they continue their battle, chat. But eventually, Spider-Man is all part of his plan, because he's leading Venom to the new probe. It is launched in New York. He's like, I'm gonna fucking get that symbiote off of him. I'm gonna send it back into space. Darkslayer, thank you for the 5 biddies. Venom hooking that truck horn. It's soaking, just like, honk, honk, ah. So stupid. And so eventually the subway passes by the launch where they're gonna launch the rocket. Spider-Man, he jumps off. Venom is pursuing him the entire time they get there. Eventually, they get to the very launch pad. Fucking J. Jonah Jameson's there, along with John Jameson. There's like because they're launching on John Jameson. He's named after the probe, so it gets very nice. And then Venom, he's got fucking Spider-Man corner chase. Like, this is it. I've tortured you long enough. Now I'm going to end you, wall crawler. But right before he's about to disembowel, chat, literally turn his insides into outsides, the fucking space shuttle is about to launch. In the sound waves, the vibrations, chat, causes the symbiote to go fuck, and it's just like it just instantly falls off of Eddie. He's like, what? No, I love you, no. And also, I appreciate this, chat. Venom constantly refers to himself as we. Very good choice. Like that, much like in the comics. So Spider-Man goes, all right, that worked. He fucking webs up the symbiote, or as Spider-Man calls it, the symbiote. And as Brock calls it, the symbiote. He webs that shit up, throws it onto the rocket, chat, webs it up even more, and it blasts off. He grabs Eddie. He runs to the elevator, which, again, at that point, you would have been dead by that point, Spider. I don't care how powerful you are. You've been dead. He goes in there, chat, puts the button down. And he's got this big, thick man in his arms, chat, and he's sweaty. It's just sweaty in there. Fucking JJ and all the staff of the launch, they see, like, the fucking camera shows Spider-Man, a half-naked, very, very large man, is in the elevator. Like, whoa, we got a sensor, and they send security over there, chat. Spider-Man, he anticipates this. He holds on the ceiling, chat. They grab Eddie Brock, chat, and they lead him away. Which I guess he's going to go to jail for trespassing and government property. And for exposing himself. I mean, he's got those fucking steroid guns, chat. And they arrest him. Spider-Man, he hightails it out of there. He swings back, and then we get the epilogue, chat. He's hanging out with MJ, and they're not at a show. They're just sitting out on a nice little bench, chat. At Aunt May's place, just sitting out on the front porch watching the stars. And MJ's talking, yap. He's not paying attention. He's like, Peter, are you listening? He's like, oh, I'm sorry, MJ. I was just looking at the stars. And she's like, oh. Yeah, nights like these make me think. It's like, we're obviously not alone in this universe. If Spider-Man's like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And then they continue to lovingly, this is so dumb. They lovingly, like, they kind of like, oh, they rest their heads, like they're nuzzling. It's like, oh, it's so cute. They're nuzzling, chap. And fucking Spider-Man looks at the moon, and blah, it's Venom. And Venom's face is in her. It's blah. And that's the episode. That is Spider-Man, the animated series, episode 10, chat. That's what we had. It was pretty goofy. But hey, listen, they threw a lot at that 3-episode arc. There's no question about it. And you gotta appreciate it. I mean, they didn't give a fuck about Kraven. But they did some fun things here. You can look back and you can have a laugh. But it was a fun episode, I'm not gonna lie. This coming from someone who's not even a Venom fan. But there you go, chat.